What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface here. Got a new one today. It is the Medford Knife and Tool 187 DP. As seen right there, DP meaning drop point. This isn't the first one I've had. However, I haven't had one for quite some time. I think the last one I had was an S90V version, kind of the Terminator style as they call it, where it was all just kind of tumbled, raw finish on the TI and the blade. And that was a Tanto version as well. So, but I had sold that one. I think I sold it last year. Sold it or traded it. I can't remember which. But this is probably the third or fourth one I've had over the years. And, I like this design. I do like this design quite a bit. And it's kind of cool to have one back in the collection. Shout out Knife Joy for sending this my way. It's kind of a stalwart in the Medford lineup. They've had the 187 DP and DPT, T meaning Tanto, for quite some time. And they've gone through some different iterations with it and everything else. They have them with G10 scales. This one is full TI it does have the addition over the last couple years. They've added the lock bar stabilizer, so it's all DLC, PVD coded. I think it's a PVD blade or possibly DLC, and it's DLC scales. And then, of course, bronze clip, bronze hardware, bronze pivot. And this one is in CPM D2, so that's always kind of been a controversial choice. I don't know, people kind of have it in their heads that CPM D2 isn't very good, and I disagree. I think CPM D2 is good. It's certainly better than ingot D2. It's got good edge retention, decent enough corrosion resistance, and decent enough toughness for a folding knife. I mean, maybe it's kind of debatable how great it is depending on the heat treat. For a fixed blade, that might be up to more hard use, but for a folding knife, I think D2 is probably going to be just fine. But a lot of that's just kind of anecdotal. I don't know necessarily. I don't run tests on my channel or anything like that. But all that being said, right out of the box, these things usually are pretty good actions and everything else. They're one of the Medfords. When they come in from, their flagship models like the Praetorian and the Marauder, which may or may not kind of flick. I mean, you can get the Praetorian to flick with a little breaking in and maybe a little tuning. In my experience, same with the Marauder. I think the Marauder lends itself to kind of a middle finger flick a little bit more, but you kind of got to tune them a little bit. At least the way I like them, I have to tune it a little bit. They're pretty flickable right off the bat. Now, that being said, this one, it's a 2002 model. You probably won't be able to see it in this light, but it's April of 22 where this knife came out. April of 22. So it's been sitting on a shelf for a couple years, and so I ended up just breaking it down because Medford likes to use this type of high viscosity, long-lasting grease that's used in automotive, aeronautics, everything else on their pivots. And I think over time it does tend to kind of harden up a little bit, and you kind of have to work it in some more and everything else. So after sitting on a shelf for a couple of years, it was pretty stiff. The action wasn't very good, but I just broke it down last night, and I just cleaned off the old stuff, re-lubed it, and it's working great right now. It's dropped shut. The action is great. Middle finger flick, easy. Thumb flick, no problem. There's no weight over or anything like that. So this is one of those knives that, it's a little bit maybe more immediately accessible to what somebody who's not really familiar with Medford Knife and Tool might want to get into. All that being said, I did get a really good price on this. However, the price has just gone up on these. It's gone up on everything. I'm not going to sit here and just bash Medford and say, oh, well, they've gotten more expensive and all that. But yeah, the price has just kind of jumped up on everything. It sucks. Last few years. And I think these are this model, at least with the G10 scale, used to be, considered an entry level Medford. Now it's kind of hard. These things new, they're well over $500, when you get them new with TI and everything else, and that's for D2 and unadorned essentially TI scales and all that. High fours to mid fives, and then you start doing sculpting and all that, and you're starting to get into the sixes and everything else. And I think one of the prime complaints of this knife too is it's very boxy. It's kind of got a broom handle type feel in it, because there really isn't much. I mean, they're chamfered the edges. This lighting is not great. I tried to do the best I could with the lighting, but it's not fantastic. It's kind of dark, and it's a dark knife, so. But yeah, the edges they're not chamfered or anything like. Well, they're chamfered, I should say, but they're not contoured. And so it does have a very boxy kind of feel in hand, which may be a turnoff for a lot of people. I mean, I don't think it's too bad, but I think maybe extended use of this knife with no gloves or anything like that might cause some problems. They do offer a contour model, but just kind of doing some quick and dirty math, it's almost like it's $200 more just to get the handles contoured, where they're going to have, instead of just being flat like that, they'll have some radiusing to the scales. I don't know. That's kind of a pretty steep jump up for some contouring. Seems a little silly to me, but everything costs money and it's man hours to get it contoured and everything else. So I mean, I guess it costs what it costs. I do think that to get I would like to see contouring standard on these models. If they could just do it in the manufacturing process in just a cost-effective way to just kind of knock this out during machining, make them contoured to begin with, and then just soften them up on a buffing wheel or a grinding wheel, something like that. I'd like to see something like that happen with these. But I don't work for Medford. I don't design the knives. I do like this knife, and like I say, I did get it at a good price, so I'm happy to have it. However, I don't know if I'm going to hang on to this one. I mean, I think it's a cool knife. I really do like it. It's a good knife. It's definitely good, but I've gotten the Marauder recently, the Marauder H, and that's really kind of where I'm at with Medfords right now. I think the Marauder is my model. It's really kind of rekindled my interest in the brand, and I think the Medford Marauder is kind of the model that they have that I'm really into, so much so that I've actually got another one on the way. So I might hang on to this for a couple of weeks. We'll see. It may end up staying in the collection. I don't know, but I may end up moving this one along. At a good price. Also, I got it at a good price, and I'll pass that good price on to the next person that wants to buy this if I decide to sell it. So that's going to do it for me. I mean, I can't really call this a first impressions or anything like that, and I guess I can, but I've already done a review of the 187 DPT on the channel. You can go back and find that one. Maybe I'll link it in the description. Yeah, I mean, it just came in, so I wanted to kind of go over it a little quick. It's been a while since I've had one of these, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So, yeah, if you're still watching, consider subscribing to the channel. I certainly do appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. Share this video out there. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think of whether it's the 187 DP or Medford Knife and Tool in general. I mean, I know as a company, I mean, he's a pretty polarizing individual. People either tend to love him or can't stand him. So, let me know what you think of the knives at least. I mean, you may not like the guy, but what do you think of his knives? Well, if you don't like the guy, you probably don't like his knives either. But either way, drop a comment. Let me know. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment. Share the video out there. Follow me on Instagram at Chuck__Nunface. That'll do it for me. Peace.